All right, guys, we're in our 13th video of the So You Want to Build a Gaming Rig, Why Should You Get into PC Gaming video series. And this is one of those topics that I don't feel gets enough attention. I don't see a lot of tech channels spending much time talking about this one, which is APCs, ups, or battery backups. We're going to go over a couple other items within that as well, and why you should consider doing this, even if it does not seem to make sense or the fit may not be right, why it is something beneficial for your setup, because it is an overlooked thing. And you'd be surprised how many problems arise from not using a battery backup, even if it's not going to provide a lot of runtime. And we're also going to talk about some misconceptions with what battery backups do in terms of runtime, because I think a lot of people, when they hear battery backup, they're like, I can run nonstop on a battery, and yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. So anyways, yeah, so we'll get into that and start talking about the different types of power connections to your machine and what you should and should not use and the benefits of using battery backups. All right, so I will have some graphics in here for you guys. We're going to start off with an image in particular called Strips. This is not reflective of any brand, but most of you are probably aware, as I point to the wrong direction, I was doing that, probably aware with these here, which see if you can tell the difference. One of these is a power strip and one is a surge suppressor, and see if you can tell the difference. But let's talk about power strips for a minute and what they are and why pretty much everybody in IT hates them when they see them hooked up to computers. Power strips are like hubs for electricity. That's it. They provide no protection. They just allow you to turn a single outlet into a multi-outlet, which can be dangerous in its own right. There's a lot of people, generally once you're in IT for a bit, you stop liking certain things like extension cords and power strips for the same reason. They cause problems. Power strips tend to cause more issues because you can overload a circuit with a power strip. I have been in multiple settings where I have seen equipment plugged in a power strip and the user is stating that for some reason stuff won't stay on. It keeps flipping the breaker. And it's like, yeah, you've overloaded the breaker with the power strip is what you've done. I have seen these catch fire, power strips catch fire. I have seen them damage equipment because of feedback. A lot of issues. So you should avoid power strips at all costs. The only time I would recommend using a power strip is for small appliances in areas like if you need your toaster and your coffee pot plugged in, but you also have something else plugged in there. That is kind of a good purpose for it. But even then, you may want to just get a surge suppressor. Moving on to that, surge suppressors. What are those? Surge protectors or suppressors only provide protection and voltage overload. And they have to be plugged into a grounded outlet. All right. So if you're using a surge suppressor, and I've seen this happen many times, I've seen offices where people will have a 3-prong surge suppressor plugged into an adapter that lets it plug into a 2-prong outlet. You have defeated the purpose of the surge suppressor and have turned it into a power strip. That third prong is the ground. Most people watching us should understand the third prong on a plug is a ground. How surge suppressors work is they take that voltage overflow, that overage, right, when it's detected in a circuit inside that it's happening, and it pushes that excess voltage out through the ground to prevent the equipment from being surged, right? This is good for electrical storms, if you have a surge on the utility line itself, stuff like that. They have their limits too, keep that in mind. So they're better, but again, you can overload these, and that's why I don't recommend that you use these to do a lot, right? If it's your only option and the only thing you can afford is a surge protector, I'm going to advise that you use it very sparingly. So if you have a room setup, I don't live in a house that's known for everything separated perfectly, and that's why I have an alternate setup, and I'll explain that later on. But if you have 2 outlets close to each other, but they're on different circuits, right? Let's say you have a plug on one wall and a plug on the other, and they're both connected to different breakers. You're going to want to split up that load so that your tower is only on one surge suppressor and your monitors and other equipment are a completely different one. You do not want to have those on the same because that can cause issues, and you want to have them split up because if there is a surge, that can be a problem. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're not overloading the circuit because that can be another issue too. So I know some people may disagree and say they've ran, that fine. I have as well in my past before I knew better, knowing what I know now and seeing the things I've seen working in IT and being in homes. I've done freelance IT and been in people's homes helping troubleshoot issues. I have seen a lot of issues and potential fire issues. So stay away from those, you guys. And then last in the section, we're going to get to, let me swap the image here, is we're going to get into, hopefully I select the right image here. Hold on, we may get it wrong. There we go. We want to get into, I'm going to try to switch this, it may mess up. We want to get into the actual battery backup solution. UPS or APC. APC is a brand, if you will. And then UPS is a term that's used because the model, I believe, I don't entirely remember. In IT, we just call them UPS. It's been thrown around. Hey, is that plugged into an UPS? Is that server on an UPS or battery backup? We're going to use battery backup instead of saying APC or UPS or UPS here. Nobody ever says UPS, so don't do that. But UPS, we're just going to say battery backups. You may have seen some of these models before. The one way up there in the corner is different. The plugs are kind of inverse. It serves a different purpose, but I wanted that body for this image. Generally, you're going to see these. The smaller one next to me is, I think, a 500, and then the two on the left side there are 1500s. That'll make sense in a bit. They're like 1500 AV. It's a unit of measure, these on the units. Those are more for bigger systems, and they're only going to give you so much runtime, but they do have other benefits even if the runtime's not going to match. And we're going to talk about why to use UPS and go over all of that, because it is important that you do use these. But those are the three main ways that you're going to be connecting your hardware to your house, right? Because you're going to have at least one monitor in a tower. You're going to need two outlets. Most people are going to have other stuff they're going to plug in, so they're quickly going to need to expand the power consumption. You would be surprised if this is your first series about building a computer, especially a gaming rig, you're going to be very surprised how quickly you're going to expand your electrical use. It is going to be faster than you think, because peripherals, add-ons, lighting for your desk, there's just so much that will eat up your electrical outlet so quickly that a outlet with two, a plug with two outlets on it is nowhere near enough. And you're gonna be like, how am I supposed to do this? And then you may run to like Walmart or something and pick up a power strip and end up breaking your equipment or putting your house at danger. Please don't do that. And I'm going to say this more than once in this video, stick to reputable brands. Please do that. Do not go with weird Chinese stuff you see on Amazon or Temu. Those are not rated. They're not certified, and they may have the stickers on them, but they will cause you issues. I have seen too many horror stories where somebody's like, God, I got this great power strip or battery backup on Temu or Amazon. Never heard of the brand before, and it started smelling funny, and then there's a fire. Same with phone adapters. I've seen the same thing with phone adapters. So anyway, that's the basics of power connectivity for your peripherals, your computer, all of that, what to watch out for, and the different options you have and what they mean. So hope that is helpful. And yeah, we're going to move on from here. All right, so in the section, we're going to talk about why you should be using battery backups, why it's important you do. And I know the obvious answer is because I want my machine to run when the power's out. And I think that's one of the big misconceptions. A lot of people assume that when you get a battery backup, you're getting a unit and it's just going to run your computer, your monitors and everything with the power out. And you're going to be running for hours, right? Because I think most people are aware you're not going to get 24 or 48 hours out of a unit. But I think there's a lot of misconception about how much time you're actually going to get. And I think it's because people don't understand the units of measure that their system's running in. We're gonna kind of put this simply instead of getting into a bunch of math on it to give you some examples of what real runtime would look like to a degree. We're not going to get too deep into that because I want this to be a shorter video. But essentially, yes, battery backups serve one main purpose, which is to buy you time to shut your machine down during a power outage. Because if the power drops while you're doing something, there is always a risk of data loss or hardware failures, right? Hard drives, motherboards, processor, those things can fail because of a power outage, whether you realize that or not. If you are mid-write in a process on your hard drive or your SSD, it can kill the drive. It can corrupt data. And nobody wants corrupt data. So that is, in my opinion, the primary purpose. And I know people would argue that the other purpose I'm going to mention is probably the primary, but anything you're doing where you're mid-work, if the machine shuts down, can potentially break your system, corrupt system files, and then you're having to deal with that. And even though the hard drive may technically be fine, I've seen that plenty of times too. If you guys have never heard of that or seen that, I have seen where somebody reports their system is broken. They think it's just completely gone, like the hard drive's broken, even with mechanical drives. You say that the system is broken, and then diagnostics on the drive come back clean, and then we diagnose the system and find out, oh, it's file system corruption. The hard drive's fine, the hardware is fine. The file system is damaged. And sometimes you can repair it. Other times it's so bad you're formatting the system and starting from scratch, and that's data loss, because most people do not have the money to pay for professional data recovery services. It is exceptionally expensive. If low-level tools aren't going to work, you're asking yourself, are my family photos, something that I can really afford to spend thousands of dollars to get recovered at a professional data rescue place? So most people don't have that money. So they have to just eat the loss, and then they're sad with that and hate computers. For most people that are running, and if you've watched my other videos, we talk about separating the drives out. For most people that are going to be doing a gaming rig, that may not be as big an issue, because at worst, maybe you were downloading a game and installing it, and then your gaming drive got corrupt. You just format the gaming drive and you could start over. But if the OS drive gets corrupt and you have files you need there, that could be a problem. Or it's the pain of having to reinstall Windows, reset up your system. So there's that, so even if, your UPS isn't going to be enough to power you for a half hour, it's still enough to get you in a range of time to shut your machine down safely. Now, realistically, and this is from a lot of experience, if you don't have a lot of money to spend, you're going to end up in a scenario where you have maybe 5 minutes of battery backup. And with most modern systems, that should be enough time to shut down, depending on what you're doing. So if you're playing a game and your system cuts, you're kind of stuck. You're going to have to try to get everything closed out really fast, because you'll have 5 minutes before that battery backup completely dies and is just off. And then you basically have a power failure is what you have. You can get longer running. It's going to cost more. We'll go over that too. But basically, you want to make sure that you can shut down within about 5 minutes. Depending what you're buying, 5 to 15 is where I'm going to put it at, but generally 5 minutes. And so I know that a lot of people are going to look at that and go, well, what's the point? And that brings us to the next section, which is a battery backup also provides another benefit, which is cleaning up the electric. So even if you're only going to get a 5-minute gap of battery backup, while you're not having to use it during a power outage, because I know a lot of people are like, I never have power outages, I'll be absolutely fine. I never have power outages here. I don't see what the deal is. I don't need a battery backup. Every home in the United States is on an electrical grid that has aged. No matter how good you think your electrical grid is, it has spikes that jolt the electricity up, and undervolt, which cause issues too. So you want to make sure you're keeping your line constant. And I may end up saying this again, but you want to make sure that one of the things you look for is pure sine wave as a feature on your battery backup, because that's telling you that the hardware is manufactured to guarantee that it's going to give you a good, smooth electrical signal into your machine, not an unpredictable up and down. Personally, having used UPS, I have seen logging where it shows me where the power is in a brownout type situation, or it's in an overvolt situation, and it's protected the system. Hardware has gotten better. I will say that the hardware has gotten better. I don't see nearly the amount of board failures, power supply failures, monitor failures that I used to see like way back before things were manufactured better. Just getting my new machine built, the amount of voltage protection on the boards is insane these days. That was not a thing back when I was first building machines. Even my Dell boards didn't have all that. Nowadays they have a lot better protection. Even the power supplies built a lot better. The reason, also to sidestep here, laptops tend to do better with power outage issues because they have a battery that can sustain the machine for a significant amount of time. That power brick and that battery are conditioning the power coming into the machine. So that's why it's rare to see laptops at this point, and they used to have issues too, that have issues like that. You still see it, but what you see now, and back when I was still with a tech company, a lot of the laptop jobs we had with power issues, the batteries were expanded because they had taken the brunt of an electrical surge. Like the electric had gotten, whatever situation that person was in, it had gotten that bad that it had caused the battery to bubble. And so we did battery replacements on machines. They were under warranty, so, they would send them into us, we would do those. But anyway, a lot of that's gotten better. We see a lot less of that now. Things have definitely gotten better, but the electrical cleanup is worth it. Something else they can do, this is really a far off because it's not that great of a feature, but it works. It can save you on electric. When we talk about spikes and undervolt stuff happening, that can affect your utility bill, because if a machine is requesting power and it's undervolted, that may cause an issue. Or, and I'm probably saying some of these terms wrong, but if the machine is drawing more energy than it possibly needs because of an electrical issue, that can cost you more electric. So a good battery backup will have built-in circuitry that is going to level out your power use, which can potentially save you money. Not a lot. We're not talking about a ton of money, but it can save you some in that. And then additionally, I think I got this in the wrong order here, but UPS log stuff. They log power events. They will come with software that will run on your machine. And then a lot of these units plug in via USB. So they will tell you what you're using. They'll give you an estimated runtime so you know. So you can realistically see after you get a unit that, hey, it says I get 10 minutes of battery backup. And then when the system is under load, which you can test at any point by unplugging your UPS from the wall, and then the software will kick in and show you. If it has a display, it'll show you. If it has software, the software will pop up and tell you, hey, you need to shut down. A power loss has been detected. You have 5 minutes to shut down your machine. So it has those. Another benefit of these is they will have a warranty. Good companies will have a warranty for the equipment that you're plugging into it, meaning if the battery backup fails to protect your system from a surge or an undervolt, and you're going to need to read your warranty details, they generally will offer somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000, depending what you're buying. That's for the server side. I think the consumer grade is like $5,000 to $10,000, somewhere in there, but read your warranty or pre-read the warranty they're offering before you buy the unit, and they'll tell you what the terms are. Some will tell you, like, if it's determined it was a surge and the batteries were fine and your system still got jolted, that they will replace the equipment or pay for any damages, or they'll cut you a check to cover damage. Stuff like that is what you're looking for. So you're getting an additional warranty on your hardware for stuff that's out of the control, because a board manufacturer is generally not going to honor a warranty when bad electrical killed your system. They're going to look at you and go like, yeah, that's not a problem. Our stuff ran fine. You have bad electric. That's where having a battery backup is going to be of more benefit to you. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, good units are serviceable. Even good consumer grade units are serviceable. Some might be difficult to open. In my experience, using multiple brands, CyberPower, APC, stuff like that, those units are self-serviceable, meaning you can replace the battery packs in those. So that is something that you should keep in mind. You want a self-serviceable unit. You should be buying the main battery backup unit itself and holding on to that for 10, 15 years. I'm using older units here that still work and I just get batteries for. So that is something that you should absolutely look for. Do not buy gamer-oriented ones. Almost every gamer-oriented battery backup solution I've seen has either been inadequate for gaming rigs and or does not have self-servable parts, but comes with a turn it back in and we'll replace the battery for you at a reduced cost. That's not worth it. Don't do that. You can buy the batteries yourself, and I'll get into cost that later on, but you can replace the batteries yourself. And the guides to do that are really simple. As a technician, I have replaced multiple battery packs without any problems, no issues, and it is exceptionally cheap to do so comparatively to buying a new unit or to having to replace a whole computer for that matter. And you want to look to replace your batteries yearly. Even if the unit is not alerting you, you should probably, on the anniversary of your unit purchase date or battery replacement date, replace your batteries just to make sure it's running in the best condition. That's what I would recommend. I know some of them are like, just replace when it warns you it's getting bad. No, I would replace it yearly to keep things running fresh. Just make it a yearly expense you're doing. It is doable. And then last one is avoid generic batteries as well. I've seen too many horror stories with bubbling batteries. Please avoid generic batteries. And a side note, most of the units we're going to be wanting to go after are lead acid, not lithium ion. Lithium ion tended to be a little more expensive in my research, and I had a hard time getting replacement packs found. And I don't trust manufacturers with lithium ion replacements in that market because it's very hard to get good replacements. There are good generics. There are good generic battery packs. You're going to go to like Batteries Plus or something to find out what they sell. Those are going to be the brands you're going to look for. And once you figure out what generics are okay to use with your unit and are reviewed good, then you can go ahead and try to buy those through Amazon or third parties. But generally, you want to stay away from stuff that is not being sold by retailers that are going to put their name on it and back it is what I would recommend there. But even the official batteries I find for pretty cheap on Amazon. I've gotten official batteries for my units a few times now. And then please recycle your batteries. If you're lucky enough to live in a place that pays you for batteries, congratulations. Batteries are heavy, they add up. So either stockpile your batteries someplace safe and then take a bunch into the place that's going to pay you for them. Or if there's a place that takes them, Batteries Plus used to take batteries for free. Where I'm at here in Colorado, we have multiple places that will take your batteries for free, or you can turn them into scrapyards. Generally, I will save up a few and turn them into scrapyards so I can get some cash for them. Because the battery units for these are generally about the size of the kids' power cars, the Power Wheels cars. They're generally about the size of those, or I've seen some use like ATV size batteries. So our motorcycle battery, I think that's the one most people are common with. I should probably pull up this handy dandy graphic I made. There you go. So these are the kind of batteries you'll be seeing. These are not to scale, but the bigger one up there is 2 motorcycle size batteries that are linked together. You do generally with APC need to get their unit. A tip for you, if you're going to keep using APC units, that top plastic part up there on that one, right there. As I point the right way, you can pull that off. There's adhesive you're going to want to replace, but you can pull that off and you can reroute the internal terminals. I have done that as a technician. If all you can get is just 2 batteries without the top. Unfortunately, a lot of retailers I've seen sell you the unit without the top on there. So save that top. Same with the braided pair on this one on right in front of me here. Save that braided pair. You'd be surprised how many times you can get the battery for $20 cheaper having your own terminal connector for your original unit than having to try to pair it up or buy it with it. I don't know why they inflate the cost with that, but I've seen that one too many times. It really is ridiculous. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about why you should be using a battery backup on your system. We're going to move on here to kind of a real simple guide of what to buy and where to buy things like that. Real simple, real short. All right, where and what to buy. This is where it's going to be a little difficult because this is probably going to be the part that's going to turn a lot of you off to wanting to get these, but it is something you do need to try to invest in. It is well worth it. I don't know how else to express that, it's well worth it besides what I've already told you, but the cost on UPS units can be expensive. This is probably not going to be something you buy as your first purchase. It's probably something you're going to have to get later on to safeguard your equipment later on. But first, let's start with the cost. Home units, smaller units that are not going to provide probably any more than 5 minutes in most cases to your system are going to cost probably a couple $100. There's no way around that. I know you can get smaller units that are going to give you 1 minute of protection, which again, if you're getting that, it's to protect yourself from spikes and from undervolt situations, brownout situations, not so much for complete power loss. But that's going to be something that's going to be probably more affordable to start. And there are other uses for those. I'll get into that towards the end of this section, but the units that are going to get you 20, 30 minutes are going to cost you about $2,000. There's no way around that. But there are ways to get those cheaper. So don't leave yet, because I said $2,000. But it is something you'll want to invest in. However you get these units, it's something you're going to want to invest in. Sorry, I get an alert popping up my side here. It is something you're going to want to invest in to protect your system, and it is well worth it. And the longevity for those units, for the battery backups, is great. So most companies that are going to sell battery backups are going to have websites with tools that are going to let you know what you're going to need to get. Use that as a guide, whether you're buying from them, from Amazon, or where else. Whether it be CyberPower, APC, they're not sponsored. I'm just mentioning those names. They're going to have guides that are going to say, hey, are you a home user? Are you a power user, like a server user? Look into both tools to get ideas of what they have. And then you're going to punch in, I would go 100 watts over your power supplies rating on your computer for just your rig, and then get a battery backup based on that. So for example, I have I think I have an 850 watt in mine. I forget now, but let's say it's 850 watt. You're going to want to look at getting a 950 watt minimum on your battery backup. And that's going to get you, I mean, if you think about it at full load, you're not going to get much time out of that. Okay. But it's going to clean up the signal. It's going to clean up everything in there. You're going to need to do math on what your monitors run. If you're like me, you have 3 monitors, a ton of equipment plugged in, and a tower, you're going to need to measure your output. There are tools you can buy that will measure the output of your tower in wattage, because that's what you're going to look at as wattage. That's what you're going to be using to measure based off of your battery backups is wattage, because that's how they market and sell those, is the watts you're backing up. So you're going to want to look at those, but the tools will give you an idea to work with. And then again, if you're looking at 20, 30 minutes of battery backup, I would expect that's probably not going to happen unless you're using an alternative method to buy. It is cheaper to buy the smaller units. So like a Smart Ups 500, I've seen those as cheap as like $89. I've also seen them as expensive as $200. The Smart Ups 1500 backup units, I've seen those for $200, and then they go all the way up to the thousands of dollars. And then you have server class backups, which plug in differently. There are different solutions for bigger towers. Like there are servers that are tower size, and that's another option, but you're going to need space for those, and you're going to want to have them ventilated because they have to be ventilated. Even the smaller units have fans in them because they can get warm. So that brings me to my last portion here for what you can do. If you're like, oh my God, I can't afford that brand new, get them used. You will find that tech auctions and online sales, marketplaces like Facebook, Craigslist, people get rid of, sometimes free, sometimes for extremely discounted, old battery backup units. Maybe they've upgraded to a newer unit and there's an older battery backup they're not using. Generally, you're going to get those cheaper. They're going to come without batteries, but battery packs can be 80 to 150 bucks, depending on what unit you have. You're going to have to look into each unit yourself, and you can buy those units direct from the manufacturer, or you can buy them through Amazon through the manufacturer or a third party. There's a lot of options. Batteries Plus, I'm using them because they're near me. Batteries Plus sells those. Their prices are probably going to be slightly more expensive than what you're going to get online, but they at least have brands you can check out. And again, a lot of these units you're going to get, especially if they're old IT firm battery backups, or their IT auctions, they're going to be usable. They're going to be in good condition. You just need to replace the battery pack to them. So that's a way to save money. That's a way for you to be able to get a battery backup without really breaking the bank. I have seen those units sell for hundreds of dollars rather than thousands just because they're getting rid of them. They know they're older. You will sacrifice a warranty. That is something that I should mention. If you get a used UPS, you are sacrificing the warranty. For me, I will take that risk as a technician. And that's the other reason why you're going to find older units at auction as well, is because the warranty is expired, it's gone. But I am willing to take that risk myself. The reason being is I would rather have protection for my system than have none, because the likelihood of there being an overvolt that's going to be so bad that it's going to fry your system is very slim. And I would take it up with like the power company at that point and be like, hey, you damaged stuff in my house. And if you have renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance, that policy may cover as well. So you may have some options there. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at for what to buy, where to buy. I would not go into like a Walmart if your Walmart stocks these and buy them. I would not go to a Best Buy, and I would not go to like a retailer. Generally, the markup's going to be big. Price match. Always price match. Regardless of what I'm saying here, always price match what you're doing to make sure you're getting the best possible value for your money. If you can find an APC branded or CyberPower branded or whatever branded, reputable brand, Ugreen is another brand I've seen pop up with some good options too. But if you can find these units and you're finding them at a good price, brand new, and you want to get that and do that, then do it. Just make sure you're getting the warranty. Make sure the unit is covered to, like, if there's any defects upon opening from the store, so you're not having to wait on RMA from the manufacturer, stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I've got on where and what to buy. You have a lot of options there, so definitely shop it around. I prefer to get used when I can, but I have a background in IT, so I'm used to servicing these units. So if I get one and the battery pack's gone, I know what to do. Or if I get one, it comes with a battery pack, I know to rip that battery pack and just get a new battery pack. So that's about all for the where and what to buy. And then we'll move on to kind of closing out and some last minute comments and tips and stuff. But I really hope that helps you guys with battery backup and not be discouraged, and definitely do what you can. I see so many units available used everywhere. It is ridiculous. So there's definitely no shortage of used battery backups units that tech companies sell. I know sometimes MSPs will sell those off. That's not all the time. A lot of times you're going to see them at hardware auctions. And again, check your local listings. I see these units on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace all the time. Free or $50. I've seen some today that were like $50 for the 1,500 units. That's not bad. And if you're getting a battery pack for 150, you've just got a potentially, $1,000 battery backup for what? $200? That's a good deal in my book. So anyway, yeah, hope that helps. So. All right, so let's wrap things up here. To close out, I would prefer that I have a battery backup device on everything that I could. For example, I'm a technician, I don't have this set up, but on my modem, router, and TV and game consoles, I would love to have a battery backup because those are things that can be easily destroyed by power issues. I've gone through 2 Xbox power supplies, Xbox One power supplies, I should say, because of power issues that were not related to the console, they were related to just power outages in general. So a battery backup would have prevented that. It would have stopped the unit from getting spiked to a degree that it destroyed the power supply. Now, I am grateful that we're at a point where consoles are coming with bricks like that, or power supplies internally that are taking that jolt and not getting damaged. I do get weary of systems, consoles and whatnot that do not have a brick or have a built-in power supply that's like soldered to the board, because that can be problematic. But even going back to like the PlayStation 3 era, a lot of those units were great because the power supply could be removed. And a lot of those units that got jolted, power supply replacement fixed those without a problem. So it really is good that we have that. So, it will save a lot of your consumer electronics from being jolted and destroyed. TVs have gotten better, though. A lot of electronics have gotten better. And then probably the last, to me, the one con to this, the one thing that's bad is be aware that your battery backups are going to do 2 things that are annoying. One is every now and again, you're going to hear it click when it does a self-test. That's how it checks to see if the battery's doing okay. That's how it also checks, or what it does when there's a surge or when there's an undervolt. You're going to hear a click and then a hum on most of these units. That hum is the unit kicking in and working, because there's a power inverter in there for the battery. That's how those work. And then some units, you're going to hear the fans kick up. And that's just the nature of them working. If you're using a battery backup under desk, it's usually nominalized that it's not going to bother you. The one thing that will bother you is that when a battery is going bad on an ups after a self-test, it's going to beep insistently at you. It is going to beep to let you know that it wants you to replace the battery. It's going to be very upset with you, and it is annoying. It's not as bad as a smoke detector. It's a level below that. And then if there is a power outage, if the power goes out, the unit is going to beep until the battery on the unit dies. Some units, smart units, come with buttons you can press where you can turn that off and silence them. Some do not. So consider that in your shopping options, that if you want to be able to silence the beeping, to make sure that's a feature on the unit. Generally, off-brand generics, cheapers do not have that option. I've seen on a few of those, but pretty much any APC unit I've seen, or CyberPower unit or whatnot, those have a button you can press on the panel. If it's the smarter ones that have the LCD panel, those are great because they have a silence. They're configurable too. The smart units with LCD panels and the more expensive units, you can generally configure to tell it not to beep, which is a godsend. I cannot tell you. Generally in IT environments with servers, you do want that beeping. You want to be alerted that the battery backup is going off. I can't count you the number of times I've experienced that, where everything appears to be running and a circuit has failed and a mission critical server was on a battery backup and nobody would have known because alerting wasn't set up, or maybe the unit didn't alert. So things happen. And it would not be beeping. It'd be silent because somebody silenced it or didn't set up the alert or the alarm. And then that server's gone down and now everybody's panicking. So you'd be surprised what you see when you get into working in IT and you're, on sites that haven't been set up properly, and you're triaging those sites and you're like, the alerting's off on this. Why is reporting not set up? Why is the alarm not on this? We need to know this. We need somebody to hear that. So they call us and go, hey, the server room's beeping. And so anyway, I hope that answers all the questions you may have up front about battery backups and why you should use them beyond, the most obvious one everybody thinks is there, and, kind of fixes some of the misconceptions over what they do and how long they run. But yeah, it is something you should definitely look into. I urge you to. I mean, if I was really lucky, I would love to have my entire house on a battery system so the entire house was essentially a battery backup, so that way no matter where I plugged anything in at, I wouldn't have to worry. But I don't have that kind of money. I think that's the nature of $20,000, $30,000. And then battery replacements on those are ungodly expensive. So, and no, I don't want the Tesla solution. No, 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 no. Um, anyway, hope that helps, guys. Hope this was helpful. And we're getting pretty much out of topics. The next one, I don't know if I'm going to do this next video or not. We may cut to the last video being just what I upgraded to, because I was going to go over accessories, but I'm kind of considering not doing accessories at this point because I don't think it's that important. If you see this and you want me to do a video over accessories you should look at getting for your computer, your gaming rig or whatever, let me know. I'd be glad to talk to you about that. I keep my accessories pretty simple. But I think if I don't hear any feedback on that, we're going to jump to what I ended up upgrading to. That'll be a short video just talking about the specs of my system and what I went to and what I'm expecting from it, what I've seen and what works. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing this series. Really kind of sad that I'm running out of topics because I've enjoyed yapping about everything about building a rig, and I've been really nice. Been really nice to be grounded down and get these opinions out and this information out in a way that I'm not seeing in very many other places. I know there's other channels talking about this in similar fashion. I'm just not seeing a lot, and I want to make sure that I'm adding my voice to that as well to hopefully amplify that. So if it's your first time building and you're ready to take that plunge and jump into it, I wish you well. And you know, if I can answer any questions, let me know. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for this video. Hopefully it's shorter. It doesn't feel like it was a very, very long video, but we'll see once I get done editing. So anyways, guys, till next time, I do appreciate it. And I thank you for watching these and for supporting the channel. Bye, guys.